Time now for your forewarned weather.
Welcome back. Let's get another check at that afternoon forecast with Seth Sanders. Seth, you were talking about the wind we're seeing out there right now, at least here in northern Utah. How long can we expect that to stick around?
Well, probably a few more days, especially Wednesday. Wednesday's going to be pretty gusty. You might want to hold on to your hats for the middle of the week.
Noted.
Yeah, that's because a storm is coming. We're going to touch on that in just a second. But first, I want to start this forecast with a look at the start of the day. Look at this.
It's beautiful.
It's gorgeous. Scott Taylor sent this one in. This is from Magna, checking out the Wasatch sunrise. Beautiful. We've got great colors there. The color gradient is fantastic. Scott, thank you for sending that our way. If you guys have pictures, you can send it to us here at weather@abc4.com. So we take a live view at the Black Desert Resort. Our Skycam shows we do have a little bit of moisture, but that's upper level moisture, high altitude clouds, so we don't expect any precipitation with that. You can see on our satellite radar, those clouds are moving in from the southwest, and that's going to be impacting a vast majority of the state, if not all of Utah. We'll be dealing with a mix of sun and clouds by the end of the day. Temperatures right now are in the 80s and 70s across the state. We're at 77 degrees in Cache Valley. Wyoming's still a little bit on the chillier side, 60s and 70s there. 80s down I-15 until you hit Cedar City. They're at 77 and 89 degrees in St. George. Let's take a look at what to expect through the rest of the day. By 2 o'clock, partly cloudy skies are still going to hold on. Temperatures in the mid-80s on the Wasatch Front, continuing to warm up through the evening until we reach the upper 80s. Partly cloudy skies not going anywhere just yet. In fact, as we get into the overnight hours, we're going to see an increase of cloud coverage even further. By midnight, temperatures will be at 71 degrees. That temperature trend shows that we are above average today. The average this time of year is 84 degrees. And then we have a pretty significant drop off there by the time we get into Thursday. St. George is also right around average this time, and they are going to be dropping off as well. Not as significant as we expect here on the Wasatch Front. As we take a look at the storm threat, this is coming from the Storm Prediction Center. What you see here in green, that's a general threat for the eastern side of the state, and we could see it in the northern part of the state, hugging I-15 there as well. But the northeast quadrant is going to be favored with storms this afternoon. And then as we get into tomorrow, it's going to impact pretty much the same area. Eastern Utah is going to stay locked in for the most part. Northern Utah, again, will be favored with that, but we could see some in the south. That'll lead itself to the potential for some flash flooding in our outdoor recreation areas. So keep your eyes to the skies if you're going to any of those parks down there in southern Utah. Our futurecast shows us what to expect by the afternoon and evening hours. We see those thunderstorms from Castle Country up into the Uinta Basin, the Wasatch back just east of Provo. We're all looking at some isolated thunderstorms. And again, we can't rule it out on the Wasatch Front either. As we get into your Wednesday, there's a little bit less potential for precipitation, but eastern Utah does stay fairly locked in there. And then we could get a little bit Wednesday night. You see the model picking it up here on the northern end of the Wasatch Front, but higher terrain will be favored with that. And then it clears on out overnight into Thursday morning, but more moisture is on the way. Our upper level futurecast shows us what's going on. High pressure sliding to the east and low pressure is getting close to us, and we have the clockwise rotation and the counterclockwise rotation working together to funnel the air right in between the two systems, bringing windy conditions for your Wednesday. It's already windy today, but Wednesday is going to be the windiest day. Fairly windy into Thursday as well. Moisture is going to start filling in from that low pressure system, and as it moves over us, it'll throw that Pacific moisture our way and provide the lift we need for those thunderstorms in northern Utah. Yes, even in our valleys. And then we have our eye on another system that could impact us by this time next week, but it's still a little ways out, so we got to fine tune that forecast as we get closer. Regional forecast for tomorrow or for today shows we're going to be topping out in the upper 80s in the northern part of the state, mid to low 80s in the south, and then our warm spots will be in the low to mid 90s. 95 degrees for St. George today, 91 as we get into your Wednesday. That'll be the windiest day, but it'll still be windy into Thursday. Temperatures will start to drop into the 80s Thursday through Saturday before returning to the 90s on Sunday. The Wasatch Front has a slight chance of wet weather really every day this week. Temperatures starting to cool on your Thursday, dropping into the 70s by Friday as that cold front rolls through, bringing isolated thunderstorms. We could see isolated thunderstorms on your Thursday too, but I'm not completely optimistic about that. Not totally sold, so I'm just putting slight chance. And then it starts to warm back up by the end of the weekend. So ultimately, it's going to be a fairly pleasant week. We have warm temperatures, a mix of sun and clouds, and the chance of wet weather every day, especially on your Friday. Matt, we're going to send it back over to you.